Hi, and we're talking about multiplying and dividing real numbers. The only real interesting thing you guys have to remember is division and multiplication is going to look weird when I type it out. So division is going to be a backslash, and multiplication is going to be an asterisk. Okay, so I don't have any tricks like with the t-check with adding and subtracting. You just have to remember some pretty simple stuff. If you take a positive and you multiply by a positive, you get a positive. Okay, if you take, and I'll move the cursor out of the way, if you take a negative times a positive, you get a negative. Okay, if you take a positive and times it by a negative, you get a negative as well. For some reason I lost it for a second. And one of the most important things is if you take a negative and times it by a negative, you get a positive. Okay, and some people use tricks and stuff just to like, oh, if you do good things for good people, that's a good thing. Or if you do a bad thing for a good person, that's bad. I mean, that's, first off, that's highly immoral. You want to do good for whoever. And second off, the double negative isn't really well explained that way. Okay, and it's a tough thing. And what I like to do is just like to explain, like, okay, groups of. Whenever you're explaining multiplication, you should think of groups of. So I have groups of positives, I get a positive. I have group, and I'm going backwards here just because of the commutative law of multiplication. Groups of negatives, I should have a negative. Groups of negatives, I should have a negative. Now, when you do negative times a negative, you're having opposite groups of negatives, which should be a bunch of positives. So that's the only way I can think about how to explain it. Now, the cool thing is that all of these, you guys, all of these multiplications can be changed to straight up divisions, and the same rule applies. Okay. All right. So that one's just as simple as that. But you have to remember one thing: you cannot divide by 0. That's an impossibility. It's undefined, and you just can't do it. But as long as you pay attention to that rule with division, you should be fine. Okay? So, you know, if you divide by any other number that's positive or negative, you're good. But if you divide by 0, that's bad. If you divide into 0, that is a good thing. Oh, just another thing, just talking about multiplication, division. Multiplication, you can switch them up, that's fine. Division, very fine point. So if you're saying 3 divided by 6, and then you say 2 is your answer, oh goodness, I will flip out. No, I'm just kidding, I won't flip out, but you have to understand, you're not dividing 6 by 3. The only time, and let me cross this out so you guys don't get any misconception, that is not 2. Okay, 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, whereas if we switch up the order, 3 divided by 6 is 1/2. Okay, so as long as you get that down, you should be good. Be very careful with your division. It's not subtraction. It's just division. You're cutting up into pieces. So when you cut up 6 into pieces that are 3 lengths long, how many pieces do you have? 2. When you cut up 3 into 6 pieces, how many pieces do you get? How long are each piece? A half. This is, I mean, that's 2 different ways to just explain division and how it actually works. Okay. But that's multiplication, division, and once again, you guys can use it on the Desmos pretty easily. Just double check it, you know. So let's add some negatives in here. Negative 6 divided by 3, and negative 3 divided by negative 6. Let's mix that around. So it'll cancel out and just work it over. All right, now one important thing you guys need to understand is when you're doing the division. All right, so let's say if you go 35 divided by 7, and then you try to go do something else, okay, you will accidentally type into the bottom if you do that way. So what you have to do is with the cursor, you have to press to the right, and they'll appear next to the fraction bar. If I press left, it'll be on top or bottom. Okay, so I'm using the arrow up and down to go in between. So if you type into the bottom, you will type into the bottom. So you'll divide by a quotient or a sum or something. Whereas over here, if I go over here, it'll work out again. Okay, so you have to be very careful how you type in stuff when you're doing division. Multiplication, not so rough, not so tough. So 8 times 6, pretty easy. If I put a negative in here, I can go back and change it. I can also add negatives. I mean, Desmos is just amazing because you just can add stuff and just work with it. Okay, but that's it for multiplying and dividing by real numbers. You guys have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.